VGC is supported by Patreon. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for more podcasts, ad-free browsing, and extra content. Thank you for your support. You don't know the life of a showgirl, babe. It's VGC the Video Game Podcast, episode 141, with me, Jordan Middler, Chris Scullion, and Chris Dring. This week, well, the games industry is on fire, so who else could we talk to? But first, how's it going? Christopher Scullion, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm testing a new, I say testing, this is now my new webcam, my Facecam 4K from Elgato, because I was using my phone before to do my thing, and then, but as you may have seen in last week's thing, an alarm to pick up my kid from school went off right as the podcast was finishing, and it froze my picture.
Nice.
So like using my phone doesn't really work that well. So I've gone for this. I'm getting used to the change in quality.
Immediate feedback. It's got a touch of, you know, when we put on Andy's camera and it looks like he's in a zombie film and he's been bitten, but he's not told anyone yet. You're getting somewhere close to that. You might need some warm lighting around you.
I do need to adjust the colour, and I don't want to be like a tech snob and start pissing around with the exposure and stuff like that while filming. But it's something I can mess about with at a later date. And,
yeah, just violently change the settings mid-recording. I think that's
I think
probably for the best. Chris Dring, good week for you. Games business up while games business is down. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's certainly been a week for me.
This is like manna from heaven for you. Every time something goes wrong, you're like, yes, here we go, the games business.
Well, yeah, but there's an element of like, everyone's got opinions, right? And I always feel the pressure to not only have the right opinion, but also to have some research and things. So it's always nice when someone gives me a heads up on stuff, which in a way kind of happened with both the big stories this week. I kind of knew about them before they happened, so I had me time to get my head around it, particularly the EA stuff, which is just, you know.
Oh, we'll get to the EA stuff, let me tell you.
I think everyone seems to be forgetting the EA stuff because the Xbox stuff, the EA stuff's taking a back seat now.
I was going to say good week to bury bad news, but it didn't exactly get buried. We were, the day that Xbox stuff happened, which obviously we'll talk about at length in this podcast, we were potting away and it was like 3 o'clock or something like that, and at 3 o'clock on the dot, email comes in from you and it's like Xbox Game Pass prices are going up 50%. I was like, oh, for Christ's sake, this is the rest of the day gone. That's it. What an old laugh that was. Chris Scullion, before we get to quite a games heavy episode of this podcast, which I know the audience don't like, do you have any drinks for us this week?
I've got a drink. It's not an energy drink. But while we were talking about energy drinks in the previous podcast, I can't remember if it was an off-topic one or an actual Stack branded VGC podcast. I was trying to buy more Monsters from the official Coca-Cola shop and discovered Fanta Pear, which I believe is a new variant of the Fanta. So I thought I'd attempt that because Fanta Lemon is up there with the best in the business. The game business.
A little Fanta Lemon on the balcony in Mallorca while you're waiting.
Never hurt anyone.
Never hurt anyone. I never did.
Drinking other things on the balcony in Mallorca may hurt you fatally, as some celebrities have found out. But Fanta Pear, I'm about to. It has a very much a pear smell, a pear scent,
a pear aroma. I don't think pear is a strong enough smell to make a juice out of. Is my problem. How is
Except for pear juice.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's okay. There's pears. I can confirm pears. Pears confirmed.
Okay.
But they're chucking in the sweeteners again, like the Coca-Cola company often do for everything other than Coca-Cola. So it's going to bite back in a few minutes, and I'm not going to be.
And you've bought how many of these?
Just a tray, just a slab of 24.
Great.
So it's fine. It's drinkable. It's passable. It's wet. And it'll come out wet, and that's all you can hope.
Drinkable, passable, and wet. That's the VGC promise. I feel like
I have
a DPW.
Yeah.
I have a Coca-Cola tea. That's my
a Coca-Cola tea.
Yeah, this is bought from the Costa shop, and of course Costa is owned by Coca-Cola. So there we are. That's my. It's not very nice. I don't like this.
All of these companies are owned by some other bigger conglomerate. It's all the same. So see if you just follow the
Saudis normally, at some point.
Square in the triangle. Don't say that in this podcast. We'll be on with them in the next 5 minutes. Although after my review of EAFC, I doubt that. If you'd like more dangerous chat, patreon.com/video games chronicle, like our wonderful season ticket holders, including our season ticket holder of the week, Mark Edmonds. Chris Scullion, me and you, we know Mark Edmonds well. He came to VGC after spending 40 years man and boy down the tire mines, and then after that he decided to retrain as what, Chris Scullion?
It was originally going to be a cage fighter, but it didn't specify actually which type of cage, and it turned out to be a shark cage fighter. And you don't get many opponents fighting in a shark cage, because obviously when you're both underwater, the punches come really slowly and they can be very easily blocked. So his shark cage fighting career didn't go for too long, and he went back to the tire mines. I understand.
And also tire mine, better wage, and that's how he's ended up being a season ticket holder at patreon.com/video games chronicle.
What's going on?
It's a bit of whimsy in which, rather than just reading out all the season ticket holders' names, we've decided to pick one every week and make up a fake backstory for them, and you've now just shattered the illusion and exposed the facade.
Cut all this out.
Mark will have his family around. He's man and boy, 50 years Tire Factory family will be around there listening to this, and he'll go, "That's all about me."
Breathing in those fumes as well. That's why he's been crazy enough to give us season ticket money, because the tire fumes, they get to you over time.
Season ticket holders on patreon.com/video games chronicle give us $75 a day, so the tire money's been pretty good to him. So God love you, Mark, and we'll pick another season ticket holder of the week next week. Story number 1: Xbox Game Pass prices are going up, a 50% increase to the service. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate will now cost $29.99 in dollars and $22.99 in pounds per month, but we'll get new additions like Fortnite Crew and Ubisoft Classic Collection. Microsoft is also saying that Xbox Game Pass Ultimate players will get 75 day one titles each year. Call of Duty Black Ops 7, High on Life 2, Keeper Ninja Gaiden 4, and Outer Worlds 2 are those type of games. Here's all the tiers that are currently available. So we've got your Ultimate, as we said, $29.99/$22.99 per month, was previously $19.99 and $14.99 respectively. Xbox Game Pass Premium, formerly Standard, is now $14.99, £10.99, and it was formerly $11.99/$9.99. And Xbox Game Pass Essential, formerly Core, $9.99/$6.99 per month. PC Game Pass will remain a separate offering, but it'll also get an increase from $11.99/$9.99 per month to $16.49/$13.49 per month. Chris Dring, you know what? I've always said, when you have a console no one wants to buy, you should make it more expensive. And when you have a nice subscription service that everyone likes, you should make it more expensive. Tell me I'm right about this game's business.
You're correct, yeah. Everything should go up in price by 50%. Now it's inflationary numbers, isn't it? So it's definitely. I mean, it's a weird thing with I actually think they got the Game Pass pricing a little bit wrong in the first place, because if you look at Game Pass as like a community, and everyone pays their tax into the community. So you got and depending on how much of the services you use in that community depends on how much tax you pay. So ultimate players pay the most, and then core players that are probably just playing online, maybe a game, maybe they're paying the least. But the reality is the gap between those tiers are quite small. It's only $10 between the core, or what's called Essential now, and what was the ultimate price. And so now they've gone, oh, hang on, the ultimate people, they're the ones gorging on everything. They're the ones eating all the stuff. They're the ones taking all the services. They should actually be playing the most, and we should try and keep the lower end tiers as low as possible, ideally, and maybe even make them a bit stronger so people are a bit more engaged in it. So it makes sense, actually, that there is a bigger gap between them. But I mean, going from $20 to $30, even with, some Ubisoft Classic games and some Fortnite stuff, and there's some more streaming bits and all that kind of stuff they've thrown in, that's quite a lot to stomach. And of course, I think I saw tweets, I don't know if true it was, that the cancelling Game Pass website had sort of stumbled over, and but yeah, and talking about adding 75. Yeah, actually, you know what? I was thinking this year, every time I talk about Game Pass, I always go, I don't use it enough. But actually this year, because of Doom and Indiana Jones and Call of Duty and Avowed and Oblivion and Claire Obscure and Hollow Knight and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, obviously, Jordan, because of all of that, actually, I've used it a lot, and it still probably is worth that price to me, even though it's still quite a horrible thing to swallow. And I think Microsoft's banking on that being the case for a lot of their users. But it's certainly been a shock.
That's the thing. Like, obviously, we're coming from the perspective, dear audience, of having pretty limitless access to any game we want. So subscription services like this aren't as cost effective as they would be for your normal hunter. But if I was a hardcore Xbox player playing the same amount of games monthly I do now, with the subscription service, $22.99 a month would still be way less than I would spend on actually buying games. So it's a sticker shock, but I still think the value is kind of there, especially when games are £70. Like 22, if I'm buying a game a month, I'm well getting my money.
There's some statistics on this. I think Xbox says that the average customer, your ultimate subscriber, plays $550 worth of games a year. Now, is that people they're just dipping in and dipping out? I guess in some cases, but there'll be people that play less than that. So they do, they would still be getting value out of it on average. But I actually think the other thing is what's interesting statistic, and this is something that PlayStation have said as well. Most people actually play catalog games in this stuff. They don't. They use it for. I've got a mate who's obsessed with PlayStation Plus purely because he plays old Ubisoft open world games, right? and that's what he uses it for. And everyone. We all have different reasons for playing games. My online subscription service I use the most is Nintendo Switch Online because I'm a 40-year-old Nintendo fanboy, right? And so the idea of playing old Nintendo,
oh wow,
I know. Well, the internet thinks I hate PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox this week, which has been wonderful. But but that's the service I use, and I think we all have different reasons for using it. But according to Xbox as well, the majority of people who play Game Pass play it for catalog games. So if you think about that, you go, well, actually, maybe premium's the offer. You got $15, you've got 200 games, including those big first party Xbox games, of which there are a lot. They're basically one a month now. Going into the service a year later, I think that's quite a compelling offer. I think the Game Pass thing's tough to stomach because it's the jump. I think what you're saying, Jordan, is that it is actually still a reason that you still good value out of it if you're somebody that plays it a lot.
Yeah, if you're a hyper user, like one Xbox supporter I know, Chris Scullion, who turns up to the match on a Saturday at Xbox Park cheering from the Xbox stands. This is if you weren't in a position to get games for gratis, I feel like you'd be like moderately annoyed because it's more cash, but you wouldn't feel like you were getting your pants pulled down.
The thing is, despite being someone who gets access to games like this, I'm still the kind of sucker who will happily buy any subscription services. So I've got my Xbox Ultimate subscription. I've got a Ubisoft Plus subscription, which I've now just cancelled. I've got a Fortnite Crew subscription, which I will be cancelling in November when it switches over. So I'm one of the small percentage of people who actually saves money on this. Because I had the Ubisoft and the Fortnite subscription, so now for me it's a bargain. I'm delighted, but I appreciate I'm like the 0.5% of people who fall under that category. I think, like you've been saying, that it's the sticker shock of that jump. If they'd introduced Game Pass today for the first time and said the price is £22.99 or whatever it is here, people would go, that's quite reasonable. It's the fact that we've been used to what Chris says is a lower price than it probably should have been.
They were giving it away for a quid at one point.
Exactly. So for people now, like with that context and with that behind it, it's like, oh, that's a bit shit. But you also have to bear in mind that this is happening across the board. Netflix prices constantly go up, like on a frequent basis. And I'm like, it's getting to the point now where Netflix is really expensive for me, but does the kid watch K-pop Demon Hunters all the time? You better believe it. Does she watch Is It Cake all the time, even though she knows which ones are the cake now? You better believe it. So we get our money's worth out of it. PS Plus rises its price all the time. But my Louise, my wife's from Canada, and so we've got kind of people from Canada who I regularly talk to about games. I've got my numbers here. Like over the past 2 years, PlayStation Plus annual subscription in Canada went from 139 Canadian dollars to 224 Canadian dollars over the course of 2 years. So these things are happening across the board. I wonder, and this is where I'm going to get flamed by the online community, if there's always a different whipping boy chosen at different times in the gaming world, and Xbox is very much the whipping boy just now, having gone multi-platform. I wonder if when Sony raises PlayStation Plus prices, people complain a bit and then move on. I wonder if this is just the latest in a string of contentious decisions that Microsoft has made that they all build up.
We've just come off the price of the ROG Ally, right? And then we've come off which came on the back of the increase of Xbox Series S and X, which came on the back of the increase on Xbox. Yeah, which came on the back of another increase on Xbox Series S and X. And it's just changed. You know, the console models changed. There used to be a time when we used to call it the razor blade model, right? They used to sell razors really, really cheap. And then you'd make money from the razor blades, how games consoles used to work. You sell games consoles for really low price and they make money off the games. People were paying less games. They're buying less games. They're sticking with games for longer. There's a lot of free-to-play games in that. The model doesn't work as well. And so you kind of start needing to make money from the hardware. PlayStation are not quite as extreme in that, but they are in that situation as well. But Xbox, considering they are now a third-party publisher, it's really true, right? They make money. It's not their priority. They're not going, we'll happily lose X amount of money on our hardware because, you know, we'll make it up through game sales through the software. That's not where they make the money anymore. They make the money through Call of Duty and Minecraft and those games, and that's where and that's why software is their business. But yeah, it's really expensive. If you're a kid, right, growing up and getting your games today and you're playing mobile games and then you're playing Roblox games, which are free and you enjoy it, and they go, hey guys, you've enjoyed those mobile games, don't move over to console. All it will cost you is 450 quid for a Switch 2. You're playing Sonic on Roblox. Well, you can get a Switch 2 Sonic game for £520.
Why would you recommend the Switch 2 when you can recommend the PS5 Pro?
Well, I went with the lowest entry level option.
That's actually hit me as well because so on our social video platforms we've been posting a lot of stuff about Ghost of Yotei, and I saw a comment from somebody that was like, oh, should I get this or Battlefield 6? And people were going back and forth about it, and in my head 2 games are still £100. Because the entire time I was growing up, 2 games were £100. When you had £100 of money, you could get 2 games for that, 2 new games. And the person was like, oh yeah, it'd be like 145 quid for me to get both of them. And I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here?
100 quid would get me 3 games, Jordan. This is the age difference, I think. It was, but also the actual price of games has been so different. I remember, I don't know if this was a thing where you are, but Game used to do this thing where you could trade in for you can trade in any 4 games. It could be like 4 copies of FIFA from like 20 years ago, and they would give you a brand new game for £1. And the amount of times I used to do that, the amount of times I used to go into Game and take them up on their ridiculous trading offers. And so when people say, oh, games, you know, if you factor in inflation, the real price of games was so much less. You know, there used to be price wars. I bought Call of Duty from Sainsbury's. I think it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I think I bought from Sainsbury's for £25.
They used to do the same thing for FIFA, or it would be like if you spent 40 quid in Asda, you could get it for a tenner or something like that. It was all these like bigs, like, because I supported Game Centre, God rest it, my local game shop, and they were always like, well,
Robert Lindsay's game. Yeah.
We cannot compete on stuff like COD and FIFA, so we would just do it otherwise. So when I was in my game buying pomp, first of all, I was buying from Simply Games because they would always break street date. They would always send it like 5 days early, and I was buying from Game Centre so I could go. I would dog school. Is dogging school a thing? And what would you call leaving school when you should be in school, Chris? Bunking off?
Skiving,
okay. Yeah. Scullion, were you
bunking off? Yeah.
Dogging,
yeah. So you would dog school on a
means something very different to me.
Yeah.
Does the
So
no, it was the same thing.
Yeah, it was the same thing. So I'd get my hold, then I'd go. I would. So for a Friday release, they would always get their games on Wednesday. So dog school Wednesday afternoon, go in, get my Friday games, play through them, trade them in on like the Saturday, and then buy the other new release for that week, and then play that for a week, and just repeat the cycle. Like I was my liquid game collection was like 1 or 2 games at any one time. So I was just like, I just need the newest thing, cycle it through, keep going until I can get to a birthday or a Christmas.
Game had a statistic where 95, 96, it might even be more % of people that traded in games at Game traded it in against other games. So this there used to be publishers used to hate pre-owned because it meant that basically killed the legacy of their game. Yeah. They basically had 3 weeks to sell as many copies of their game as possible, and then they wouldn't sell any more. So that used to be their thing. They used to hate pre-owned for that reason. But what pre-owned did allow people to do was do exactly what you're talking about, which is basically this glorified renting scheme where you would get a game, and if you thought it was okay, but you're not too bothered about keeping it, you would just trade it in for like not much, for almost as much as you bought it for, maybe not, and then you get against the next one, and it just enabled games to be a lot more of a cheaper hobby that people could engage in that cycle. I guess that's what Ubisoft Plus and Game Pass is now, right? If you want to try something, complete it, put it down and not play it again, like Ubisoft Plus You always cause these spikes around. Assassin's Creed Mirage was 20 hours long, so you could have subscribed to Ubisoft Plus, played it for a month, unsubscribed, and you've got your game and you've had your experience. And here's the thing: Ubisoft was okay with you doing that, and I guess that's a similar thing to what the old pre-owned model used to be. But, yeah.
I would like to point out that back in the day, you could go to WH Smith and go to the ZX Spectrum section of the shelves, and for the premium games, you'd get about 10 games for your £100. And if you went to the budget section, where games were between £1.99 and £2.99, you could get 40 or 50 games for your £100. So.
Yeah, all right. In my day, Chris, I used to go into an arcade with my shillings, and
I used to have a stick on a hoop. That was my Xbox Live Ultimate.
W.H. Smith, now known as T.G. Jones, outside of airports, which is just ridiculous. What is the point in rebranding like one of the last high street shops that anyone knows the name of as T.G. motherfucking Jones? I don't think that part's actually on the sign. But yeah, it's TG outside of an airport and a train station. It's TG Jones.
I swear I just walked into one yesterday. I did not. I don't know. I didn't look at the sign.
You were
well,
too
of course. Back in my day, it was John Menzies. Or some people used.
He was just a guy that would sell you copies of Edge down the back of the woods near your house.
Big John, Bad John.
Yeah, this is we're talking about Game Pass. I saw a lot of catastrophizing online that were like, Game Pass no longer a good deal, shove it up your arse, they've completely ruined it, and I disagree with that.
Is that Sarah Bond that said that?
It was actually
shove up your arse.
She came out and said Sarah Bond Desu, shove it up your arse at TGS. I think that when you look at their lineup, and if you can justify a game a month, that's the whole thing it comes down to for me. Even games like Silksong, that was like 20 quid. So even if one of your months you're getting like a 20 quid game for £22 plus all the extra shite, rather than a 70 quid game for £22, I'm still like, I can't get too up in arms in this. I think it's daft because it's bad messaging, because Microsoft is just the kings of saying things that are bad at the minute, but I don't actually think that it's too terrible.
It's 75 games, day one games a year is what, 6 plus original titles a month they're putting in there. And okay, they're not all going to be Call of Duty or the Outer Worlds or whatever, but I don't know. I just think maybe my perception is different because I'm old and I see Gears remastered and I think I'm interested in that, and I see Oblivion remastered, I'm interested in that, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, and I just love the remasters and the remakes. But I actually look at Game Pass this year, and we've had a big game every month.
Yeah.
So it's
there's Sarah Bond at the door for Chris. She's coming to beat him to death.
Well, he just said it was a good deal for him, so I think it's probably.
I mean, Chris literally has multiple Xbox jackets, so if there was anyone that was going to support that,
I saw the Eurogamer headline: if Xbox Game Pass dies, then we'll have lost one of gaming's best tools for discovery. And I'm like, I don't think Game Pass is. I don't think that's the situation here. I think this is securing its future more than anything. But
what do you think is the percentage of the Game Pass audience that are that kind of curious mind? Oh, I'll check this out, I'll check that out, and how many are just I pay for it, I get my Call of Duty, I get my big Xbox games, and I don't really bother with the catalogue titles?
I don't know. Yeah. And they're quite vague about it, really. I'm sure the fact that PlayStation Plus is so popular always says to me that, I think most people aren't really. I think we're also moving into an age where, because games are so expensive, people are genuinely just like, unless it's a game I really love and it's a franchise I really worship, I will wait. And I know that's always been the case. Just wait, it'll be in the Steam sale for X amount pretty soon. But I think that's becoming more and more common in today's economy, but also not just economy in terms of people's financial ability, but in people's time ability. We're bombarded with so much stuff. I've got to the point where a game will come out. I didn't buy the Super Mario RPG. What was it? Was the one they released at the end of last year? Mario and Luigi, whatever it was. I didn't get it because I had 2 other Mario RPGs I hadn't played yet. And normally I'm like, new Nintendo game, day one.
Yeah.
But I've started getting to the point where, okay, Nintendo games don't drop in price very much, but I've got to the point where I'm not even good. It's just pointless me spending this amount of money on a thing that's going to sit on my shelf for a year when I know that it'll be in a subscription service or will be, I picked a bad game as an example for this, but it'll be in a subscription service or a discounted or whatever a little way down the line. And I think that's me and someone who's happy to.
Nintendo's actually the publisher that I would most want a Game Pass style subscription service out of, because they're constantly dropping shit, and I'm like, I would pay monthly for their first party games, no problem at all.
That's the thing. If they charge £40 a month, and even in the months when you're not getting a new Mario or a new Donkey Kong or a new Zelda, you're getting like
Drag.
the smiling man and stuff like that, like really kind of weird stuff. What again?
Big Emio.
Listen, will you find out why he was smiling? Jeez, but no, it's like you get that kind of weird selection of stuff from Nintendo. That would be ideal. But,
I must easily give Nintendo more than £360 a year. I think this year alone is probably approaching $2,000. So it's
those Virtual Boys aren't cheap.
Yeah. if you count the Pokemon Company, I pretty much 10 times that every month. But
Do you know what annoys me most about the Game Pass thing? And this is just purely in terms of our jobs, is the decision to rename the tiers again. And it's like we've said this countless times on here that Xbox's marketing messaging is like, it might as well be in hieroglyphics. It's so bad. It's like for the longest time, it took me ages to get used to PlayStation's the new PS Plus tiers, where they went, what was it, PlayStation Essential,
PPP is the top, the triple P,
the essential tier, extra, premium. So it took me ages to get used to that, because they all sound quite like Essential sounds like the best one.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's
actually just the essentials, then extra, and then premium.
Well, I think I do think their new naming conventions are better. I think standard is a terrible name for any.
They're definitely better. But the fact that
they've had to do it again.
The fact that for the longest time in my head, I've had to get to the thing I remind myself of it is premium is the best one for PlayStation Plus. Premium is the best one. That's how I remember the tiers. Suddenly, Game Pass strides in and goes Essential, Premium, Ultimate, and now Premium isn't the best one anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if we're going to get another one, another tier, lower end tier, whether it's ad funded or partly ad funded, mobile related, perhaps. Because Xbox
an essential
Game Pass. They said an essential, sort of basic. Game Pass at one point wanted to be, when it was a little while ago now. So obviously they've changed their strategy a little bit since then. But when those documents were part of the Activision Blizzard regulation, the Xbox talks about wanting to have 100 million Game Pass subscribers, right? And they're not even halfway there yet. And to get that, you're going to have to go broader, and so broader is going to require mobile, is going to require lower prices. If that's still a goal for them, it might not be anymore. But so I do think we might see a lower tier, the opposite end of things, and that kind of makes sense to make the upper tier both further away and bigger and more expansive.
You went about Cilla Black there, Dringo. A lot tier.
He's a journalist, ladies and gentlemen.
Chris, you are fondling your package. What is inside it?
I don't know what it is. I was trying to do it discreetly in a way that nobody would be asking me about it, because I don't actually know what it is. And it could be something awful.
Please be a sex toy.
Those are clearly
my prediction based on the date is did you buy a physical copy of Galaxy 1 and 2? Is that what it is?
Check, I made of money. Well, no, it's actually the Tour Plan Arcade Collection 1 and 2 on Nintendo Switch. A lovely selection of vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups.
Are we getting paid for this plug or what?
No.
Oh, okay, great.
I prefer this plug to the Love Honey Advent Calendar.
Also a T-shirt in the classic PR style. It's large because they've decided that all games journalists are svelte.
Yeah.
And that's incorrect.
Yeah.
So
we're buff rather than svelte.
Yeah. But if I try to put that on, I'll look like Iron Sheik coming out of Gold's Gym. So go dress them. So I'll probably leave that. But yeah, I'll definitely be playing those.
Don't stop plugging on this podcast.
I'm not plugging. I'm genuinely. You asked me to open it. I'm going to open it and go, oh, what the hell?
Sponsored by Morrison's Custard Creams. Morrison's Custard Creams. Before we go to the break, we're going to do a story out of order. This story hits me at the very core.
I wouldn't know because you didn't send us a bloody.
Yeah,
list.
I like to keep it keeps you fresh. It stops you from reading. Story number 3, which is in the story number 2, will come after the break. It's like Memento. Rock Band 4 will be delisted this weekend with its DLC to follow. The game is turning 10, and because of music licensing agreements, the game is being delisted, and the DLC will be delisted 10 years after it was published. This is very sad. I know that the Rock Band team are now basically just like war pigs for Epic's, what's that even called? Rock Band Island Rivals?
Fortnite Fusion.
Fortnite Festival, starring the K-pop Demon Hunters and the Power Rangers. Yeah, I get that that's all the way, but one Alex Donaldson, who occasionally darkens the door of this podcast, put it succinctly on Blue Sky, saying that it's ridiculous that there's not an actual just standalone version of Guitar Hero or Rock Band that is still currently a going concern. And I agree. We can joke about Clone Hero, and Clone Hero is very good, but it's difficult to set up, and most people aren't going to be bothered to pirate hundreds of gigs.
Legally questionable. Exactly.
We're not going to be bothered to get all of the videos from Beatles Rock Band and plug it into Clone Hero, even though it works perfectly, and even though you're never going to be able to play Beatles Rock Band other than on a original console ever again. But this is sad. Dringo, does the music game ever come back? Does this 60 quid game supported by £2 DLC songs, does that model work now, or does it have to be streaming? I thought that Guitar Hero Live was a bit ahead of its time with its kind of streaming thing, even though it was handled a wee bit weird.
Well, I think Fortnite Festival is quite guitar-y, right? You know, it's like I know it's
shite. I don't want it.
But it's good. It's good.
It needs to be split it apart. I don't want everything to be Fortnite. It's just becoming mush.
But to answer your question a little bit, I obviously Red Octane are back now,
yes,
so they've reunited. They've got the actual people that've been making a lot of those. So for starters, the Red Octane people who made the guitars still exist, part of that company, CRKD, and they're making the guitars, and they've got a bunch of people who've been making these. Is it Not Another Guitar Game or whatever it's called? Or there's someone's already, people, the community that are keeping this stuff alive. They're now making an actual game funded by Embracer, under the Red Octane label. And so, yeah, guitar is back. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
That actually reminded me, I think Rock Band Rivals, which is like Rock Band 4's most recent edition, is on sale until like Sunday, so I'm going to buy that now because I had the physical copy. God knows where it is, because all my physical PS4 games got chucked into a cupboard at the end of that generation, and now they're just collecting spiders.
I'm just keeping an eye on Fortnite Festival. I want that to, because with every update they do, they add new stuff to that. I want that to eventually evolve into Rock Band Blitz, because that remains the best music game ever made. And so I want to be able to, I stand by it. I want them to be able to switch between the tracks at will, and I want you to be able to activate power-ups. Once that's in, I'm good for, I'm sorted for life.
Rock Band Blitz is a very good game, to be fair. I won't begrudge you that.
God rest it.
The thing for me is best music games of all time. The best music game of all time for me is Rock Band 2. I know there was subsequent games that improved on the formula, but for the vibe at the time, where I was in my musical discovery journey, that was the music game that really got us hooked into me. Also DJ Hero, we've prophesized about DJ Hero on this program a lot. You can tell if someone's a fake music game fan if they think that any Guitar Hero after Guitar Hero 3 is better than any Rock Band game, because they just were not. The Rock Band games were banging. They had the original Guitar Hero team making those Rock Band games. That's why they were so much better. I know Guitar Hero 3 is iconic, and it was like Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii is like sold more copies than the Bible. I get that, but for me, Rock Band 2. To
feel like that was my obsession in that era, and like before I injured my finger and can no longer play Guitar Hero games anymore.
A violent wanking accident.
Well, it wasn't that. That wasn't that violent, but it was more a gardening accident. But I was obsessed with all of them, and like the subsequent Guitar Heroes were still good. They were a bit more forgiving in terms of the accuracy, and they started messing about with that thing where you could strum once and then just go like that for
the
ages.
Hammer on and pull off, yeah.
I love that. I like pulling them off, but yeah.
My Guitar Hero Memories Guitar Hero World Tour is the press event I went to for that, where Lost Prophets were there, and I ended up at the bar with now renowned paedophile Ian Watkins.
I wondered which renowned paedophile you were going to refer to there.
They had some weird press events for the Guitar Hero games. I remember I had to perform on stage during one of those.
Yeah, I did one. That was Rock Band one for me. I did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
you had to perform on stage, and then you just heard in the background, hey, and who was it? But renowned Guitar Hero fan.
But no, it was a Guitar Hero one. It was in Camden. It was a nightclub in Camden. and some of the future journalists had to go up and play like 2 or 3 songs in front of an uninterested audience before. I want to say it was Bullet for My Valentine or someone.
Oh, I love Bullet for My Valentine.
And actually played some songs, like real ones. And so that was quite weird. There's the other one as well, with the infamous one where Johnny Rotten was asked to give a impromptu press conference on stage.
That story's told on an episode of the Game Business Show. Simon Byron tells that. That tells that story.
I was there.
And he also tells the story of when he went to Download Festival and played Guitar Hero on stage, and everyone really loved it. Him and Leo Tan playing Guitar Hero on stage, and everyone going mad, and they're doing the same thing the following year, and they're getting bottled to hell.
Yeah, they got the Daphne and Celeste treatment.
Yeah.
The bottles of piss.
Yeah.
Oh well, good times.
Daphne and Celeste, get them on this podcast. The term future journalists, ironic because they're now past journalists because they all got sacked. After the break, we'll be chatting about EA and their future, and the potential for new games like Titanfall 3. Spoilers, there is none. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. EA confirms that it will be acquired for $55 billion by investors, including Saudi Arabia's PIF posse. In a statement, EA said it, quote, entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by an investor consortium comprised of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity partners. The all-cash transaction values EA at around $55 billion, and will see the consortium acquire 100% of the company. Chris Dring, layman's terms, what does this mean for Electronic Arts? What does this mean for fans of their games? And what does this mean for people who are employed by that company?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So the problem with this deal, for starters, there is so many elements of this deal. The problem with this deal is it's what's called a leveraged buyout. So there's $36 billion are being spent from these investors' money, these 3 investors, which include Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners and obviously
the big man.
Yeah, old Donald Trump's son-in-law, which probably we'll come on to that. But the other part is that $20 billion is what they're borrowing $20 billion from JP Morgan Chase Bank, $20 billion, to fund this. $20 billion is about, I think, 20 times the annual cash flow of EA, which means, so in order to pay off, they're going to be like 0.5% or whatever of their annual turnover is going to be spent just servicing the debt, servicing the interest on this sort of thing. So what's expected, what would normally happen is, okay, they're going to have to cut. They're going to have to increase their margins. They have to increase their cash flow. They might cut, they might sell. And when you start looking about what they'll be cutting, and so you have to look at why the Saudis are investing in them. So you think, well, they definitely want the sports games because that's their big thing. It's about becoming seen to be like the good guys to the young people in Saudi Arabia and the rest of the world. So the sports games will be safe. They make loads of money. Probably the shooters will be fine as well, assuming Battlefield 6 lives up to what it looks like it's going to do. And then the Sims, and we'll come back to that. But the games like Mass Effect and Iron Man and Star Wars Jedi, which they're not unprofitable, but the margins on them are really small. And those are the things that I think there's going to be some anxiety around. Where this is so you would expect there to be what we call rationalization, so selling or closing or cutting of staff. That's the fear. And as an industry, we've been beaten up so much by all the consolidation in the games industry that, it's almost, we just feel it's inevitable. But this deal isn't really just about money. This deal is about Saudi Arabia. This deal is about, the impact of video games to shift perceptions and reputations. This is about, Saudi Arabia wants to build a game development industry within its country, within Riyadh. And it's also, and it's something that wouldn't have happened and that's why, this wouldn't have happened normally. Saudi Arabia can't come in and buy a massive American games company that make big American games. But that's what Jared Kushner and that connection allows them to do. This is about big, important, whether that's maybe the word powerful is a better word, regimes using video games.
Donald Trump just loves Mirror's Edge. He just, I love that faith.
You're waiting for an excuse to do the impression. The most realistic.
The buildings are very red. She runs in the red thing.
If you see a wall and it's red, you climb that son of a bitch.
You're doing like Harvey Firestein.
That's a bad one.
You're a New York cabaret act. You're like, forget about it.
My Trump's off. I'm going more towards, hey, ma!
Drango, quick Trump impression for you if you've got one. There we go. Good.
That was it.
This is exactly what the Saudis have been doing in wrestling for 10 years. They buy events from the WWE, so they get their big American shooting gun events to come over to Saudi Arabia, and it softens the whole thing, and it softens the like insane regime. And because of the state of American geopolitics at the minute, it's welcomed in. It's just welcomed in, and it's the exact same thing. I fully assume that this means that they will pare themselves down to FIFA. Not FIFA, EAFC, very good rebrand, and Battlefield. You're never getting a Dragon Age again. Mass Effect will be the last BioWare game before they bin that off, I'm telling you now.
This is the thing, right? So I don't know how involved investors aren't normally involved in the creative process or the green light process. They don't normally get involved in that kind of thing, and they wouldn't want to because the damage it would do normally. Maybe because there's a very conservative group and a very conservative country, they won't be happy with the Sims' LGBT content and stuff like that. I hope that isn't the case. I think I'm more optimistic that won't be the case than I'm fearful of it, but I certainly wouldn't bet against that. It's worth noting that, they want to be seen as the good guys, right? This is the whole point of it. And you don't really get seen as the good guys if you come in and start cutting away at wildly popular game studios. So what is that? My expectation is rationalization and cuts, but there's just a bit in my mind saying that because this is about politics, because this is about reputation and perception, maybe they'd go to EA, hey, make some cool stuff, make Titanfall 3, right? Do stuff that we think would resonate well with audiences that might go down or that might make us look good. I'm not betting on that to be any, but then maybe if I'm trying to find any sense of hope in all of this, it's a bit miserable. There's a wonderful video games industry memo. There's a guy called George Osborne in the games industry who's literally writing a book about big China and Saudi Arabia using video games for political gain. His book's not out yet, but he's having to rewrite a bit of it this week. But he's just done this wonderful memo. It's free on his website, Video Games Industry Memo, which really dives into this. If you want to really feel informed and a little bit depressed, give that a read. It's really good. And it's I've heard the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salam, him. He's a big gamer. Like he's not like he's it's all part of it is driven by his own love for this stuff. I'm not saying that's a good thing.
Sorry, I'm me and Scullion are deep in the recesses of our minds to think of the funniest game that won't get us beheaded.
I know I was going down the kind of the visual novel side of things.
Perhaps something like Manhunt or Mad World. What's a really chop up game? Slaughterhouse.
I was going. Obviously, you're going down the violence route. I was going down what's the most LGBT friendly game. The game he's least likely to play, because the joke then is inverting that as humour, saying, he's a big fan of Celeste.
Daphne and Celeste.
Life is Strange. Life is Strange is
exactly. He loves Life is Strange. He loves the messaging in that. That would mean.
Sorry, listeners. We'll work this out amongst ourselves.
We'll just break down the concept of humour.
We're going to workshop this.
Exactly.
This is grim. I hate that this is happening. I hate that this is the world we live in. But I doubt it will be the last. It's not on the it's not on the runner this week, but obviously Ubisoft and Tencent's thing kind of kicked off this week as well. So it's was there a world where EA could like continue to exist as it was, or is this like a necessary thing?
The problem it reached in a way is it reached a ceiling. It's actually quite a shareholder value, as they call it, has been going up every single year. EA, it's what I want to point out. EA was hardly like a wonderfully cool little indie that did lovely things all the time. Like they are super. They every now and again they'd do a Dead Space remake or a Mirror's Edge 2, and then they'd shut that shit down. Right, and it was like they were never the most altruistic of video game companies. And every now and again they do something, but so it's not like they've bought Nintendo. They tried, or whatever. But the Activision Blizzard acquisition hasn't gone that well. All the money Embrace has spent, which by the way was also linked to the same as Saudi Arabian investment group, is also it didn't end well or hasn't gone well. So there's just a feeling of inevitability that this is another one. I don't expect lots more deals of this scale in the games industry. To be honest, I think this is there will be a lot more investment from the Saudi Arabians in video games, but I just I'm not expecting another $55 billion mega deal. But it's there's a change in the guard in video games, and the powers are shifting.
Well, VGC the Video Game Podcast is available for buyouts. Contact me, Jordan Middler.
We have a price. We do have a price.
Dringo famously will do anything for a bit of cash. So
honestly, I'll say what you want for $2 million.
Yeah, genuinely, I would. I don't care.
Yen,
I'm quite happy to. 2 million rupees. Speaking of EA, they released a football game last month, and me and Scullion have been playing a hell of a lot of it. Chris, where are you at with it? Because beforehand you were ganting for it. You were frothing for a bit of EAFC 26 having gone cold turkey from 25. I conversely played a hell of a lot of 25, and thus 26 felt like more of a continuation of what I was up to. But what are your thoughts so far from the first kind of 2 weeks?
I'm enjoying it. I haven't had a clear run at it. Like I'm already getting anxious. It's making me anxious, which I don't like. It's absolutely riddled with live service stuff, even more than it ever has been. Yep. So every night I get stressed out, going, I'm not going to hit this target in time before this tournament or this challenge or whatever runs out. So I don't like that aspect of it. They're really driving home the fact you have to play this game every single day, otherwise you're going to start slipping behind. Because I've been reviewing stuff like Silent Hill and playing other stuff, I've not been able to find the time to play it as much as I'd like, and that's making me more anxious because I can feel myself slipping away behind the pack already, which isn't good. And a game shouldn't do that. A game should let you.
It's been out for 1 week.
Not when it's been out for a week and I'm already going, oh shit. Yeah. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think the gameplay itself is fine. I'm still enjoying it. Yeah, I like seeing the FIFA dance, the EAFC dance every year when a new game comes out. And people who take it far too seriously say the game's broken, it's absolutely busted, the defender's broken every year, it's this and that, and then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they forget about it and just moan at the servers instead.
The thing is, the game was amazing, and then they patched it, and I don't like it as much anymore. Like, they patched it like the day it came out, and it was completely different gameplay. I genuinely
don't see a difference. I don't know if it's just me.
This is the thing. Like, that's this game in a nutshell. Like, two people playing it completely differently, and because of the way you play it and because of the players you use, it can feel totally different. And obviously the more people get it and spend their FIFA points and stuff, EAFC points, EA, the players get better, the players you're playing against get better, so it's stressful. But I'm also in review hell at the minute, so I've not been playing tons of it since I was really heavy into it. But first weekend league this weekend, I assume I'm going to get my absolute box punched in, but it's broadly fine. I've had some good packs. There's a review on the site. It's the problem is they advertised this game as there was people sitting on a couch going, EA, you've got to fix this. EA, man, you gotta fix the defense. The ball keeps bouncing back. Every time I try to make a tackle, the ball's bouncing back. And the advert was like, we fixed that. We fixed that for you. We fixed that as well. See all the things you've been moaning about for 45 years? We fixed all of them.
We do this every year. Every year we get shown. We get either they do it publicly or they do it to the press. They'll do like a presentation where they'll show animations of here's a situation where the ball was swung in a corner, and people used to say this was shite, and now we've done this. And every single year they'll do it, and it's the same. One day I'm going to put together a collection of, because I've been reading this in magazines since the 90s. Every year you'll get a football game and they'll say, "Oh, the players now run like the real life players." It used to be Emil Heskey. Sensible World of Soccer preview said Emil Heskey now runs like Emil Heskey.
Then it was Sterling. For a wee while it was Sterling, and they were like, "Oh, he's got his animations." And
Haaland does that run. It's all through the entire history of football games. That's the big selling pitch is, they move more real. They move like the real life counterpart. It's the same.
Like they did that
dance every year.
They've done the thing to the press every year where they say the last game was shite, this one's good. But this was like the marketing campaign. The mainstream marketing campaign was, EA, your 25 game was fucking shite. Can you fix it for us? And they were like, oh yeah, it's brilliant now. Don't worry. And it's like, all the defending, the ball still bobbles away even though you should have won it. You tackle a player, get the ball, and then it'll just go zoom, and the attacker will get it again. Like, it's full of absolute mince. Like, it feels like...
Tell you what they don't do, though. They don't give handballs for nothing.
Yeah,
like they did last night.
Sorry.
In the Celtic game.
We didn't deserve anything in that game. We were terrible.
I've not played EA Sports FC 26 yet, but I'm playing it against Maisie Adam, the comedian, on stage at an event in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, I like Maisie Adam. She's good.
Yeah. That's going to go well. Two people who've never played EA Sports FC on stage in front of an audience.
Scullion, I'm checking my inbox here, my physical inbox. I don't seem to have an invite to that event. Have you got yours? Did you get mine in the?
It's an amateur event. It's not for pros.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
That's
it is. If you would love to come, it is the New Horizons event in Middlesbrough. So it's
New Horizons. What is?
I know.
That sounds a wee bit Kool-Aid-y.
The New Horizons event sounds like when
it's Jamie Sefton's. It's Jamie Sefton's new event.
Oh, he said something very nice to me the other day.
Jamie's good. That's
it does sound like
we'll allow it.
It sounds like the kind of thing you would hear about when you get out of the Animus for the Abstergo bits of the game. And it's like, you're contributing to the New Horizons project, so we need you to go into 15th century.
It feels about 40 bodies were found at the New Horizons. So, but if it's Jamie, I'll allow it. Jamie's
40 bodies were found because Chris Dring got absolutely battered at EAFC. It was on the Chris Dring, if you know what I'm saying. Other new games.
I think I'm going to be playing as Middlesbrough, and she's going to be playing as Leeds. And as I'm a Leeds fan, it's one of those situations where neither of us can win. Neither of us can. I can't lose.
You're a Leeds fan? That's peculiar. Why would you do that to yourself?
My family are from Yorkshire.
Well, Chris, if you've got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you also have EA Play, so you can play the 10-hour free trial of EAFC and get some practice.
I just emailed EA and asked for a code. But I mean,
Thug life.
Can you email them and ask for some FC points for us, by the way? Because
they haven't sent it to me yet. I think they're just going to let me die in front of Maisie Adam.
Told you to F the F off.
Yeah.
Other new games. Ghost IoT is out now. There's a review podcast with me and Hamish Black.
It's a bit woke for me.
Yeah, Ghost of Woke. Ghost of Yo DEI. That's a joke that works better written down, but
it does, yeah.
Andy put up an interview with Brian Fleming, the head honcho at Sucker Punch. Unfortunately, did not heed my advice and just stare at him and go Infamous 3, Infamous 3, Infamous 3 for half an hour. But
Rocket Robot on Wheels 2.
Oh, shut up.
You're talking. You're playing with dreams.
Also interviewed the wonderful Erika Ishii, who is amazing in Ghost of Yote. So check.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she?
That's like, can you? You can. She came out at TGS dressed in the armor for Ghost of Yote, and because obviously she is the performance and the face and stuff like that, it's like, that's cool. I like it when people do that, like when your boy for the Jedi games gets dressed up as Cal Kestis. I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. But yeah, good game. Check that out. More stuff always coming. I'm reviewing like 50 games at the minute. All of them pish. 1 star between them. That's not true. But yeah, we've got a lot on. I think that's basically it for this. Oh, we had one question that I did actually want to answer. Have I completely lost it? I'll paraphrase it, and I won't even say who wrote it unless I found it. But we were having a discussion about reviews, Scullion, about like how much of a game you need to play and stuff like that. And someone basically asks, what happens if you're playing a game for review and it doesn't click? How long do you stick with it until you just bin it off? And I think that's quite interesting, because if it's like, especially if it's a game that you can like, you're like, this is clearly good, but I'm not having fun with it. Like, how do you approach those reviews?
I mean, I always try and finish the game regardless.
Yeah.
But there are always situations where for time reasons or whatever reason it can't be done. But the 99 times out of 100 I try and beat the game. And for opposite reasons, like if I'm loving a game, I want to get to the very end, because it's a fear of being caught out, basically. If I'm loving a game, I want to make sure I finish it, because for all I know, the final boss is an absolute shambles, or there's a post-game thing which totally ruins everything. And if I don't mention that, then I've not done my job properly. And conversely, there are so many games where people go, oh, you've got to get past the first 10 hours. You've got to get past the first 5, which is a shit argument, because you should never have to do that with a game. But the Days Gone apologists often give that kind of...
That's a shite game. You need to get past the first 50 hours before it's even remotely playable.
So if I'm starting a game and I'm not feeling it, I do kind of still try and get to the end, just in case it gets
Even
better.
if it's a Sonic the Hedgehog game?
Listen, that falls neatly into the first category.
At the speed of sound.
Listen.
Oh, here we go. He's prepared. He's got a prepared statement.
I own his actual shoes. Right? One of 500 pairs of shoes he actually wore in his life. A wee layer of dust on top, but that just means it's well loved.
If you had any bottle, you would smash that with a hammer right now.
It's perspex. It's they've thought of that. They've thought of Sonic fans getting angry.
I'm just going to say what I said on Twitter. Sonic games have always been shit.
Well, there's your clip for the week. Take the stress off me. But no, I like Sonic games. I just don't like the music.
Sorry, I didn't bring it up.
That's all right. That's perfectly fine. That grew arms and legs a lot quicker than it needed to. Not least because of T. Lopez doing a remix and sending that, and that just got everyone going, "Yeah, we won!" So no, he's dead. Still shite. But yeah, it's. I should have clarified at the time and said all Sonic music with lyrics is shit.
How the fuck are we still talking about this? The Sonic music?
Because you fucking
I never said anything. I never said anything. It was him.
It was the gaming bit. The gaming businesses.gov.us brought up. The point is, I've had 2 weeks of people going, the Mega Drive music was great. Of course it was. We're just talking about fucking Sonic Adventure. I want to fly high. Or the Tails music and everything.
Talking about this.
Well, that's it. Line's been drawn under it now. Move on.
Mario music, however, shite. Anyway,
not a bad one amongst it, except for Yoshi's Island DS. Yeah. Worst soundtrack.
Yoshi's Island.
Don't, because they're going to remake that.
Yeah,
I've already sang a line.
If the Nintendo man wants to do a remix of our music,
if Koji Kondo wants to.
But I'm pretty sure Mr. Masuda did some of the Yoshi music as well, because that was one.
Can we come at Donkey Kong Country music? I'm sure Grant Kirkhope would do a.
Grant Kirkhope doesn't get out of bed for anything less than 10 grand these days. He just goes to conventions, signs pish Nintendo 64 games, and makes a mint.
There never was a pish Nintendo 64 game. I said that's an inaccurate comment.
We were drinking with him at SGF, and
he has a job, you know.
Away. I know he's got a job, but I mean,
he works for Day for Night. He's making their new game, which
works.
Andy made that really awkward for me when I met him at
SGF.
in SGF, because like he's a gaming industry legend, and like I love all his stuff, and this is the first time I got to meet him. I'm not even rising to that. And I was the first time I ever got to meet the guy. I'm like, this will be good. Okay, meet the guy, say thank him for all his work and that. Turns up, Andy goes, oh, here's Grant. Chris says all your stuff's shit. And I'm like, how do you can't recover from that? Because now you're on the ultimate back foot there, and you're going to go, what a prankster.
When we're drinking at SGF, we're chatting away, and obviously I don't think I've ever played a game that he's contributed music for, which I think he found quite charming to be. Well, no, I've played that. Did he do the music for that Mario Ubisoft game? Am I tripping here? Well, I've played that. That's a good game. Finally, he's made a good game. So we were chatting away, and you could just feel people hovering and like people pure dying to dive in to talk to him, and like 3 times in a row, people pouring their heart out to him about the music and stuff. And I make music, and it's such a big inspiration. He's just like, yeah, all right. And it was so nice to everybody. And then I was like, is this your life now? And he's like, just go to conventions and sign games and make a packet. And I'm like, good man, that's how you do it. That's how you keep this business going.
He when he was at EGX, he actually got onto the career fair, and he stood at the career fair for ages meeting young people. But here's the thing with him, is he doesn't actually think he's that great. Like if you speak to him, he's honestly like, oh, I know I wanted to do this, but I don't think I'm quite good enough. And he would sit there. I'm like, fucking did the Banjo soundtrack. You're the GoldenEye guy. You're Perfect Dark. Like it's just
the reason that new Perfect Dark got binned off is because they never included him, and I'll take that to
it was definitely a mistake.
The end of days.
Yeah.
But alas,
that's a good quality to have, though. That humility is a good quality to have, though. Like, when you start believing,
it's a Scottish thing, I think.
He's not Scottish.
I knew that was coming.
Remotely Scottish. He's
Scottish-ish.
He's as Scottish as Nando's as Portuguese. He's like he's had a flirt with it occasionally. But he talks like this. It doesn't really. It's like, hello, I'm Grant Kirkhope. I'm doing a song about banjo and kazooie.
I remember when I used to live in East Kilbride. Yeah. I know Scotland. Dundee,
you're joking. we've gone off the rails somewhat. I'm sorry. This was
apologies to everyone who's ever listened.
Yeah, sorry to the Pith Posse. This was quite a serious episode, so I feel like we need to. We've done our serious bit, so now we need to get out into the playground and run around screaming for an hour to let the energy out. Dringo, what you got going on the rest of this week? You recently launched a new money grabbing effort on the games business. You want to pitch it?
Yes. So we now got a subscriber tier to the game business. And every Monday I now do something called the Game Business Micro, which is like a condensed version of all the news with a bit of analysis, some exclusive data. It's about 15-minute podcast and a very short, about 1,000-word newsletter that comes out every Monday. And I'm charging for that because hopefully it's a nice condensed thing. But we also do some bonus stuff. The next week I've got a big PlayStation 30th anniversary of PlayStation in Europe. And I've got interviews with Chris Deering, who ran Europe at the time, and Jim Ryan, who also was involved in the launch of the first PlayStation. He's in the interviews, a bunch of other people as well. There's some surprising revelations of things that Sony tried to buy around the 90s as well. It's quite a long episode, but I do have an extended version, which is for subscribers that they can get for. But it's free for everyone. That comes out Tuesday. So that's my sort of end of the week, beginning of next week focus. Also popping up to see Rare on Monday, which will be quite nice.
A rare treat.
Yeah.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Did you know that in the 90s we tried to buy FHM?
I just love those magazines.
I just read the articles, honestly.
I miss Jim Ryan because I can do a great Herman Hulst impression, but it's problematic, whereas the Jim Ryan impression was just...
Oh, you're worried about the problematic things in this podcast?
Did you know I launched the PlayStation 5 from my kitchen table? Anyway, let's get out of here.
He knows a Geordie, right?
Yeah, but so's Lucy James, and she doesn't talk like Ant and Dec. You want Jim Ryan to come out and go, oh, my eyes. He shot a paintball into my eyes. He doesn't have a Geordie accent. For those that want a good laugh on this Friday, search on YouTube, Jim Ryan Crash Zoom. It's the greatest games conference moment in history, when some camera mishaps befell Jim. I think Gamescom, maybe. I think it was a Gamescom. I think it might have been the Gamescom 2013, where Shuhei came out and showed the PS4 interface for the first time, and then Jim came out to talk, and hilarity ensued. So go and check that out. Apart from that, calendar, there's a review next week you can look forward to. Until then, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Check out the games business. Yeah, on Chris Drink this weekend. Say goodbye, Dringo.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Scullion.
Goodbye, Scullion.
And we'll see you next week.